Here at the Jewish Leadership Conference with former Israeli ambassador to the U.S., Michael Oren. What do you make right now about what's happening in the Middle East?
Good to be with you, Mike, as always, and this is a transformative moment. We don't know what the next Syrian government's going to look like, but what we do know what it's not going to look like. It's not going to look like Assad. Assad is the primary ally of Iran. It is the cornerstone of the strategic Shiite arc that extends from Tehran to the Mediterranean Ocean. That cornerstone falls, Hezbollah dies. Hezbollah dies, and it can't be resupplied. And Iran is totally now isolated in the corner. That has also its risk. The Iranian regime, which is already debating whether or not to break out and create a nuclear weapon, may decide that it only has a certain number of weeks until January 20th, until Donald Trump assumes the presidency, to break out and create a nuclear weapon. So Israel has to be extremely vigilant during this period. But generally speaking, this is a transformative, revolutionary event in the Middle East that, if it is handled correctly by the United States, by our allies, could truly, truly bring about a new Middle East.
What is that correct way, in your opinion?
Well, first of all, let's give a cautious embrace to this new rebel government. And they're going to have internal divisions between them also. And let's take advantage of this moment. Let's take this moment to press the isolation of Iran, to get Iran to dismantle its nuclear program, perhaps even bring down the regime. I'm not calling for regime change, but none of us would be particularly distraught if it actually happened, right? And take this moment to make a peace between Israel and Saudi Arabia, perhaps even to address the Palestinian problem in a new and creative way.
In terms of what's coming up, we'll take ourselves outside of the Middle East, focus a bit on America here. There is a transition period happening right now. The Jewish diaspora has been a huge issue in American politics over the last year or so. How do you see things transpiring going forward in terms of the American political landscape, its relationship to the Jewish diaspora in America, its relationship to anti-Semitism, and the broader U.S.-Israel relationship?
That's about 10 questions there. Let's begin with
Try to get them all in.
Let's begin with one of them, right? Kamala Harris received 80% of the American Jewish vote. That's actually more than Barack Obama received. And so,
do you trust that poll to begin with?
It is a poll, okay. And see, the American Jews voted for Kamala Harris. Again, they vote Democratic, and I don't think that's been a huge sea change. But I think that if the Trump administration can prove that it can maintain the values that American Jews that they cherish, and that has been the big fear. It's a value-driven issue. Then I think that many American Jews will think more. I think more in sort of a two-party system and not just a one-party system. That's a possibility. I think it's also if the administration fulfills its pledges to ensure Israel's security, to enable us to defend ourselves without an asterisk next to it. I think that will also bring about a better division of the American Jewish vote.
In terms of, we're here at the Jewish Leadership Conference. Yeah. Who are you looking for to kind of lead the way here in America in terms of Jewry? Is it the kids? I call them kids. Is it the students on campus?
Oh, definitely. Oh, definitely. I always say that the generation coming out of this war in Gaza and Lebanon is the strongest and most patriotic and most steel generation we've had since 1948. But the generation of young American leaders who have come off the fights of these campuses are also the best generation we have known in many, many, many years. I've met with them multiple times, and every time I go to sort of strengthen them, they end up strengthening me because they're so tough. They're so tough, and they're so spirited and committed to their identity and preserving not just American Jewish security, but also the security of the state of Israel.
In terms of the backing, in terms of the support that they're going to get, do you feel there's going to be more support from the incoming Trump administration in terms of clamping down?
Yes. Yes, I think universities that do not safeguard their Jewish community will pay a price in terms of federal and state aid.
How quickly do you see that taking effect with all the other agenda items that any presidential administration has?
Very fast, very fast.
You believe so?
Yeah, the Secretary of Education will move very quickly on that.
In terms of where that leaves kind of the relationship here, do you feel it'll give American Jews an opportunity to be more open? Do you feel it will give those supposed October 7th Jews who reconnected with Judaism because of all the rampant anti-Semitism, do you feel that they'll stay connected?
I hope so. I do hope so. The unity that we experienced in Israel through much of this war is already beginning to fray, as you know, and already different factions are reemerging. Also around even the judicial reform issue is resurfacing. But the American Jewish community has really maintained itself, and I've been to probably 50, 60 cities over the course of the last year, and I've seen it again and again. Just on this trip alone, I've just come from Memphis, Tennessee, and I'm going to Chicago and Detroit, and you see it again and again. And I hope so. I hope that that American Jewish community will understand that we are in a different age right now. Anti-Semitism has become a fact of life here. It is not unusual in Jewish history. This world of anti-Semitism would have been very familiar to our great-grandparents. And they would say, oh, well, the world hates Jews, of course. And that the old means for fighting anti-Semitism, of exposing and embarrassing anti-Semites, okay, and then educating anti-Semites, doesn't work anymore. These people aren't afraid of being exposed, they're not embarrassed, and they're not educatable. So you have to learn to fight them. You fight them sort of a Churchillian way. You have to fight them in the classroom. You got to fight them in the boardroom. You got to fight them in the courtroom, in the legislature, and the media. Certainly, you have to fight them. And I think that American Jewry is ready to fight. I really do, Mike. I've seen a new muscularity among American Jews, and a new sobriety, a new realism. Okay, this is what we're dealing with. This is what we have to do in order to remain secure and productive American Jews. Is
it a bipartisan fight, though? Because and you've made a huge effort and have focused a lot of attention over the course of your career in keeping the U.S.-Israel relationship on a bipartisan basis. 5 of the incoming 11 Democrats on their leadership committee voted for the Israeli arms embargo put forth by Senator Sanders a few weeks ago. How do you even go about fight? Do you accept that? Do you fight it?
No, you fight it. You fight it. But I also think, and I'm going to surprise you by saying this, this is the moment when the pro-Israel community in the United States and Israel have to reach out to the Democrats. Democrats have suffered a truly stinging defeat. The stock is low. That's when you buy the stock. And we have to open up a new dialogue with them. And it's not going to be easy. I have been to the Hill multiple times over the course of the summer and into the fall. And every time I reach out to Democrats, including progressive Democrats who've been critical of us, and open the dialogue with them. Keep it open. Do I think they're going to turn around and be, they're going to become Mike Huckabees? Probably not. Probably not. But we can get greater understanding. I brought a group of displaced Israelis from the north to meet with some of the progressive Democrats. And their eyes were opened by them. And it opened up, I think, a venue for renewed dialogue.
Speaking of the Mike Huckabees of the world, last question there you have to go. The Trump administration did not delay whatsoever in making its appointments in terms of the Middle East. We're talking about the ambassador, the Middle East envoys, both on the Jewish and the Arab side. I mean, everything was kind of focused around the Middle East in the early days. Do you feel those were campaign favors, or do you feel that it's an indication of how seriously he takes the issue?
I think it's an indication of how seriously he takes the issue, and the appointments themselves reflect how seriously he takes the issue. I would just issue one little cautionary note. Keep in mind, appointments are great, but at the end of the day, policy is made by one individual, and they carry out those policies. So I do not know where Donald Trump stands today with relation to the annexation issue or to the two-state issue. Remember, he was against annexation in his previous administration. He signed on a peace plan that was a two-state peace plan. So we don't know where he is right now. We know where, say, Ambassador Huckabee is, or Ambassador Stefanik is, or Secretary of State Rubio is on these issues. But at the end of the day, we have to wait and see what the president's positions are going to be.
Always enjoy picking your brain. Ambassador Michael Oren, thanks so much for taking the time to join us here on JNS.